House File 949, Representative Cagle, safety education required and watercraft operators permitted. We've allocated about from 3:20, which was 5 minutes ago, to 3:45, but I know that Representative Cagle is prompt. And so I will move that House File 949 be recommended to be re-referred to the Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. Representative Cagle, I believe you have an A1 author's amendment.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I move the A1 amendment to get the bill in the form the author would like. Representative Cagle, could you explain the amendment?
This is an amendment that would, it's for the resort owners, and so it just kind of carves out resort owners from the boater safety stuff. Boater.
Any discussion on the A1 amendment? Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the amendment. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Representative Cagle, to the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This bill is the boater education bill. So we know that we've had 16,000 new motorized watercrafts registered just in the past few years. That's 16,000 additional. So sometimes those lakes get kind of crowded. And so this is just making sure that we're, just like we do with our snowmobiles, that you can go in and get certified as a safe driver of a boat. And we all know how important safety is. So, and I will turn it over to my testifier.
Welcome. State your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Adam Block. I'm a conservation officer serving as the DNR's boating law administrator for the past 5 years. I am here today to testify in support of House File 949 that will expand the requirements for boating safety education while on our waterways. In 2022, Minnesota had almost 620,000 motorized boats navigating our waterways. As more and more boaters visit their favorite waterway, we continue to see increased congestion, which requires a greater degree of skill and education to safely operate their motorboat. In the 1990s, Minnesota became a leader in the country regarding boating education requirements when we established requirements for our youth to obtain boating safety education if they chose to operate a motorboat. While that was a great first step, Minnesota has been passed by many states across the country who have expanded the requirements over the years. This first step proved that further education saves lives, as we saw our boating fatality and injury numbers sharply decline after the youth requirements were signed into law. Minnesotans and many others that visit this state value the experiences and memories made while spending the day on the water. However, too often those experiences and memories end in tragedy. Our 2022 boating fatality report is awaiting final numbers, but currently we have 15 fatalities listed, with the average age just shy of 42 years old, operating on average a 19-foot motorboat. With the added boating pressure we are experiencing, coupled with the amount of tragedy occurring on our waterways, I am asking that you should support House File 949 to protect our waterways and make them safer for all users. Thank you.
Next testifier. Jeff Forrester, Minnesota Lakes and Rivers.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Forster. I'm the Executive Director of Minnesota Lakes and Rivers Advocates. We have over 250 Lake Association members, marina owners, anglers, lake home and cabin owners. So I hear from people all across the state, and we've been working on this bill for 3 years. You know, one of the things I can say about it is we've really worked to find all the different stakeholders. And if you look at that one page that should be in your materials, you'll see kind of the broad range of groups that we've been able to get to support this bill, from MinFish, Association of Marina Owners, Association of Boat Manufacturers. A lot of different groups have weighed in on this bill. The other thing I'd like to bring up that maybe hasn't been thought about or mentioned before is, you know, as a Minnesotan, if I go out of state and try and rent a boat, or even overseas, and I don't have a license, it can make it difficult. So, you know, while states recognize other states' licenses, if you don't have a license, it can be problematic in some areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next testifier, Tom Watson, Minnesota Coalition of Lake Associations.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and speak on House File 949, which we support. My name is Tom Watson. I'm here representing the Minnesota Coalition of Lake Associations. We actually are a group that was formed about 12 years ago, representing lake associations that were basically county-based to create a broader resource, if you will, to focus on water and lake issues in Minnesota. I'm a director on the board of directors. There's 12 of us representing large parts of north central Minnesota and certainly northern Minnesota, as well as Ramsey and Wright counties. I'm past president of the Whitefish Property Owners Association, which is a nonprofit, and chair of the AIS Research Center Advisory Board at the university. I tell you that only because it proves how old I am, and I have been involved in natural resources matters for a long time. As I was driving in this morning, I was thinking to myself, 65 years ago, I drove my first boat, which was an 18-foot Larson wood boat with a 10-horse motor, and my fear was I couldn't get over a wake to go 10 miles across Lake Kabetogama, that some of you probably know about on the Canadian border. Mincola is an organization that really has been very active in advocacy, education, and encouraging best practices in taking care of our lakes and waters. And as I indicated, we're an organization made up of coalitions of lake associations and organizations such as that across the state. Almost no one that I speak with can comprehend why Minnesota doesn't have and has never had a requirement that all boat operators have an education and an operator's license. Given the large number of navigable waters and the size of some of those navigable waters, the amount of and the numbers of registered watercraft, the number of boaters who enjoy those, and the increasing size, horsepower, et cetera, of these watercraft. And the recent history, as Mr. Block indicated, of fatalities and very, very serious injuries that we have across the state. Making Minnesota lakes and rivers safer for recreation, supporting water quality initiatives, and protecting those waters from negative ecological impacts are a primary focus for our organization and working with our neighboring associations. I might point out we're all volunteers. There's not any money being paid to any of us to do what we do. Last year, in an earlier version, of course, as Mr. Forster indicated, there was cooperation of a number of organizations, not only lake associations, but local regulatory bodies, as well as manufacturers organizations and the like, to begin to realize that it was really significant that this watercraft operator's license would make a big difference to boating safety, environmental protections, and just simply a good step forward. Today, that importance of moving this along can't be understated. It's critical as we sit here today. The education component of the legislation will make boating safer for all users, along with people of all ages who enjoy the water from a dock or a shore. If I had the time, I would explain some of what we see for people that probably a little bit of education might have saved a life, might have eliminated some behavior along some water, on some shoreline, and some conversation that's probably not publishable between a boat operator and the property owner or somebody sitting in a 16-foot fishing boat. By addressing aquatic invasive species in the education, we can help boaters understand the impacts of AIS, what it has done to our environment and our ecology, and what we should do to slow down that spread. We also look to the education to protect the shorelines and lake beds and the powerful waves and the impacts that has. Large part, as some of you may know, there's quite a bit of research going on at the University of Minnesota that looks at some of the best practices and the impact of propellers and waves and natural wind-generated waves and those kinds of matters on our public waters. We believe the education's best practices must consider the wide variety of uses of our public water, whether it's motorized or non-motorized activity, anything from swimming and paddling and fishing to sailing, skiing, and surfing. I might note, I don't see Grandma and Grandpa, and I'm there, Grandma and Grandpa sitting on a boat at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, anxious to go fishing. You take your life in your hands out there on the water today in many of those cases. And hopefully some of that educational opportunity will teach some people that we all have a right to be there and we all have a right to enjoy it safely And let's not forget that, water quality is really what drives Minnesotans. There's a couple pieces of research that I won't go into great detail, but one of the questions asked, when people retire, why do you move to your seasonal property in north central Minnesota? Why do you go to your seasonal property? In this case, they were looking at the Fergus Falls Otter Tail area. The number one criteria was water quality, was the number one criteria. And so this particular licensure can only help us take care of a valuable asset that we all certainly enjoy. In conclusion, Mincola looks forward to having the opportunity to work with DNR, further support this particular bill, the author and people that she has working on this matter, as well with folks at the university. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity and the time to be here this afternoon and support House File 914. I can tell you Mincola is very anxious to see this passed, as is true of all of the lake associations that are part of our group. We think it is good practice for Minnesota residents, for businesses, and our visitors who would enjoy Minnesota. Thank you very much, and I'll stay around if there are any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to testify for or against this bill? Are there any questions? Representative Scrabba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How much will the permit cost, and is there a penalty for nonconformance?
Representative Cagle.
Thank you. I know that the cost of the program or the online thing is about $25. I know I went through that one. Actually, they mailed me a CD-ROM, so that tells you how long ago I had my my snowmobile endorsement done. But I will leave it over to our DNR officer here to talk about the enforcement.
Officer Block.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, Representative Cagle is correct. $24.95 is what the fee is passed on to the user. In terms of administration of the licensing itself or issuing a free paper packet, which is available as well, as is today, the DNR has a budget for that item that comes out of our RBS Recreational Boating Safety Grant administered through the U.S. Coast Guard.
Representative Scrabba.
Thank you. So they're going to get a little slip in the mail? Is that what you said?
Mr. Chair, Representative.
Sure.
Yes, in theory, it's going to be something they can hold on to, put in their wallet, their purse, whatever it might be.
Representative Scrabba.
Thank you. And I know you guys are trying to work on this, but can it not go to this so we can keep it on this? And I know you're working on a program, I'm fully aware of it, but somewhere, if it's written in there, it can be this too without having to come back. I would be really nice. So just,
Representative
that's
Cagle.
the future. Thank you.
Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think, the more we move to kind of digital identity, that we'll have to consider that. But we also, I'm sure this will be going to transportation as well, because it has to do with our little endorsements on the back of our driver's license. And so I'm sure you'll be able to get your boating one as well put on your driver's license.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other questions? Representative Jacob.
Just very quickly, so does the $24.95, does that cover all costs, or is there still administration costs that the taxpayer would be responsible for? Is $24.95 or $24.99 that cover everything?
Officer Block or Representative Cagle.
Mr. Chair, Representative Jacob, correct. That covers the issuance of it through our third-party vendor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair Hansen.
Any other questions? Representative Cagle, to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. I think, seeing the amount of Airbnbs that have been going up on my lake, I want to make sure that folks know the rules and aren't, we have one of the lakes that I, definitely looked at that GIS data for to see what the water quality was. And so didn't even think about that one until this. And so I think this is just really kind of a good way to make sure that people know the rules and also maybe know the manners of the lake as well, which I think is kind of something that we also need to address. So I appreciate you hearing the bill and hope for your support.
I renew my motion that House File 949 as amended be recommended to be re-referred to the Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The motion prevails.